before I started Flylady, I used to think I was pretty awesome at getting rid of stuff that I didn't need. I watched some Marie Kondo videos, girl, and I thought I was kicking butt in that department until I started Flylady. And I realized that I had a lot of mental blocks holding me back from truly letting go of things that I just didn't need anymore. And I realized that a large part of that came from my childhood. Things that I overheard people saying, things that maybe people told to me, or advice that I was given that ultimately wasn't a good fit for my life now. And as I was going through the Flylady process, I really started noticing those thoughts of behavior and those patterns. And I also started to come to the realization that some of those things that I was taught didn't really go together with a clean, tidy, organized home. And so I had to choose which one. Do I follow some advice that wasn't really meant for my life? Or do I start decluttering and get into the process of really creating the home that feels good and comfortable to me? So I know that a lot of you may be struggling with some of these thoughts and you may not know it yet. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some of those limiting thoughts, some of those limiting beliefs about what I should be doing, and how they were holding me back, and kind of what happened when I decided to let that go and just do me and do my thing. You know what I'm saying? So if you're interested in that conversation, then you definitely want to stay tuned. But before I get started, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Lade, and I am the creator of Love Always Lade YouTube channel. And so before I start this video, I just want to say I acknowledge that this video is not going to be for everybody. Okay, I acknowledge that. So if you're here and it's for you, I hope that you'll be able to receive it in a way that empowers you to go after the life you want. I know that's so cliche, but sometimes it's like we feel so guilty about doing what we know is right for us because of what somebody else told us to do. And so by sharing this, I hope to empower you to just do what works for you and to do what works for your family. And if you come across this video and it is not for you, I highly encourage that you just, go click off and go, find channels that work a little better for your life. But when I create these videos, I know I'm talking to a very specific girl. And by that, I mean basically the advice that I wish I would have had just about 6, 7, 8 months ago. So, and I know that everybody's different, and what works for me is just not gonna work for everybody. But if it does work for you, then all right, so let's jump into it. So yeah, as I was saying, I definitely picked up a lot of cues about what I should and shouldn't be doing as a homemaker. And basically a lot of those beliefs that I grew up with just were not compatible with having a home that's just kind of peaceful and clean. And I don't want to say that my home is not chaotic, but the most important thing is it's a home that I'm happy with, and I don't need a perfect home to be happy. And so just being able to create that home, I had to let go of some of the limiting thoughts and beliefs that were handed down to me. And so we're gonna talk about some of those. I remember when I was a little girl, my family really harped on me the importance of not wasting food. I just left that little awkward pause in there because I know that this is gonna trigger something in some people. Okay, I feel like when it comes to this whole thing of not wasting food, there are two types of people. There are people who genuinely don't waste food. They are constantly thinking of ways to use what they have. They are constantly checking on their inventory. And if they see that something's about to, go bad, they're like, how can I incorporate this in the next meal? It's a very active thought process and a very active effort to make sure that nothing goes to waste. And then you got people like me who feel guilty about wasting food, but they also know that they tried this thing and their kids didn't eat it. And they're not about to waste 50 bajillion hours in the kitchen trying to prepare this delicious, wholesome meal that they know good and well their kids are not going to eat. And they're just not about that life, okay? What happens is we made a purchasing mistake. You know, we bought something, we tried it, it didn't work out for us, or it no longer works for us. And it's like we feel guilty because of a mistake that we made, and because of what society tells us or what we were taught. We feel like we just have to like hold on to it. So you know good and dang well you're not gonna cook it, but you feel bad to like get rid of it or just send it on its way. And so you let it sit in your pantry. And what ends up happening when you kind of feel guilty about letting go of stuff that you don't need is that it sits there and it's taking up space. Because it's not like we just make one purchasing mistake that goes bad. It's like it builds up. You know, over the years, the amount of things that we try and test on our family that just doesn't work out for us, it will slowly start to take over your pantries. It will slowly start to take up more and more space and crowd out the things that you actually do want to eat. You have like less and less space for those types of things. And then what happens next? If you're like me, what happens is once all of your pantries get crowded out by all this food that you're not eating, once your cabinets get crowded out by all these products and extra cups and extra bowls and extra this and extra appliances and stuff that you tried and you don't love, it starts crowding out. And then the stuff that you actually do need starts finding a place on your countertops, and you have to start finding like random storage solutions, and it just can feel overwhelming really, really quickly. And it's very likely that, you know, over the years, you will actually start feeling like trapped and backed into a corner because you have all this stuff that deep down inside, you know, is not a good fit for your family, but you feel guilty to let it go. And in addition, you start feeling overwhelmed because you get to a point where you're like, I really know that I need to do something about this. But over time, like the junk just takes over and you feel more and more overwhelmed by that project, which means that you delay it and you put it off longer and longer, which makes the mess even worse. And so I know I've seen people who have whole rooms of stuff that they're not using, and they know for some reason or another there's an issue where they can't let it go. And so if you buy into this whole thing that if throwing away stuff or releasing stuff or donating stuff or getting stuff out of your house, if it triggers like that guilt in you, probably from something that someone told you when you were younger or, you know, when you were starting to become a mom, then it can really lead to a rabbit hole of a lot of frustration and overwhelm. For me, the solution is I ultimately just had to give myself permission to be like, I know that this is not what you wanted for me, Grandma. I love my grandma. But I know that this is not the life you envisioned of me. A life where I have perfectly good food that I'm not going to slave over the oven and cook because I know my kids are not going to eat it. I know that this is not the life that you envisioned for me. But I give myself permission to let it go. I have learned that space in your home, it is valuable. You know, we are only given so much space in our pantries. We are only given so much space in our cabinets and, you know, countertops and pantries. We're only given so much space. And it's too valuable, that space, to just let clutter come and crowd out all the stuff that you actually need and that you're actually using. And if I had to choose between saving stuff that just is not providing value to my family or getting rid of it and having a nice clean space to work with and organize and arrange the stuff that I actually need, I'm going to choose the space. That's kind of the point that I've gotten to now. What this has allowed me to do is, number one, it makes my decluttering projects feel way less overwhelming when there's just less stuff there. You know, like, for example, I decluttered my pantry, and this sounds so embarrassing, but after, you know, how many years has it been? 3 to 4 years of just like holding on to stuff. I would say about a good half of the stuff in my pantry was stuff that we had outgrown. My son used to have a lot of food allergies, so we had a lot of specialty foods that were honestly not great tasting. And he outgrew that stuff. He didn't need it anymore. But I was holding on to it because I felt like, oh, I don't want to waste this. I gave myself permission to let go of that stuff. We had a lot of stuff that people gave us that, you know, my kids can't eat. I don't want to eat. Nobody else is eating it. It's just sitting there taking up space. And this is like a accumulation of stuff over the years. And once I got rid of that stuff that I just know that we're not going to eat, it created so much space. And finally, I could see the potential of my pantry to like create it and make it into something that felt good for me. And so with this being said, I'm not telling y'all don't have food in there for a rainy day. Okay, don't get it twisted, because with this Corona season, that's one thing I learned, girl. We got to stockpile some stuff up in here, but stockpile stuff that y'all gonna eat. Don't use that as an excuse for holding on to stuff that even in a situation where y'all can't get food, that your kids still won't eat it. Like, don't do that to yourself. Let that stuff go and create the space so that you can feel, you know, lightened up, and it'll make it so much easier to start arranging stuff in a way that looks beautiful when there's just less crap in the way, crap that you don't need. Okay. And, you know, if anybody comes to your house saying, oh my God, you can't waste that. Oh yeah. Then please gladly pack it up into a box for them and send it to their home and let them figure out what the crap to do with it while you enjoy your peaceful, organized space that just makes you feel happy. So that's what I have to say about that. Okay. I do believe that this advice was given to us for a reason. Like, for example, people in my grandmother's generation, I know that life for them was much different. And I even know that there are some people who really have to use this advice now. But for me, I'm not going to make myself feel guilty over a purchasing mistake. Sometimes I buy things and it just doesn't work out. And I do not have to feel chained and shackled to that decision. Especially if it's getting in the way of me having a peaceful, organized home. It's one thing when you just have like one or two items like that that are not a good fit for your life, but it really adds up over the years. And this doesn't just apply to food. I'm talking about things I've had to get rid of that I felt like I didn't want to waste were like cleaning products. Even like, you know, what's the point of having 50 bajillion plates in your house? Like, you know, like all those extra plates that you don't use on a regular basis is just taking up space for stuff that should be going in your cabinets, but you can't put it in your cabinets because you have 50 bajillion plates taking up the space, or you have 50 bajillion pencils. Like, you don't need all of that. For me, I'm talking to me, you know, where's my girl? When I'm talking to y'all, this is actually who I'm talking to. This is me pre-Flylady, stressed out. Okay. So when it sounds like I'm going off on y'all, I'm not going off on y'all. I'm going off on me. I'm gonna put it right here. It was like, you don't need all that. Most of the time, the stuff that you feel like you're holding on is so easily replaceable. And it's like, you're like, I'm not sure if I need it. And half the time I just feel like if you're not using it and it is something that is very easy to replace, like you just hop to the store and you go get it and it takes you about 15 minutes. If you're not using it, if you haven't used it for years, I'm just saying, create the space, make life easier for yourself, and give yourself permission to make a mistake, and give yourself, if you make a mistake about decluttering, give yourself permission to fix it by going to the store, getting what you need, and being like, I'm okay with replacing it. As I was trying to say, I know that the advice that, you know, I was given or that I heard, it was relevant at a certain point in time. And I believe that the people who told me not to waste, they truly were very active in that process, but I'm not. I'm sorry. And I'm just okay with that. Like, I'm not in a position where I have to make stuff work that just doesn't work for my life. So if I make a mistake, I made a mistake and I'm moving on. And I'm going to let stuff go regularly so that I can have space to put the stuff that I actually want where it belongs. All right. Point number 2. this kind of goes along with point number one, but I felt like I heard this a lot when I was growing up. I would have stuff that I know good and well I wasn't using, I wasn't wearing, I didn't like, and I was not given permission to let it go because it was good quality, girl. Girl, this is expensive. And yeah, I just had like spaces just full of stuff that was good quality, but I wasn't using it. And I noticed that when I started my Flylady journey, that was one thought that I heard a lot. I heard myself say it a lot. Like I have some video clips of a decluttering project that I did where I was just like getting rid of like really nice backpacks and lunch bags and jackets and all that stuff. And I really remember feeling that hesitation, like, but this is good quality, but I invested in this. This is still good. And, you know, Flylady really talked about evaluating if something is appropriate for this season of your life. Just because you bought it, just because it's good quality, that is not enough to justify it crowding out your spaces and making it very difficult for you to arrange the stuff that you actually want to use. And so I had to get to the point where I'm just like, yeah, it's valuable, but value is really, really, really in the eye of the beholder. It might be, these items are going to be more valuable to someone else that needs them because I don't need them anymore. Like we're not in that season of our life anymore. So one thing that really helped me get rid of stuff that was like good quality is giving it away, donating it, giving it to friends. You know, and if that wasn't an option, girl, I'm not about to sit here and hold this stuff and find people to give this stuff to. So either I got donated it, gave it to a friend, or just went in the dumpster. I'm just saying, sometimes you got to give yourself permission to do what you need to do. But to me, I just decided that I valued having a place to put the stuff that I actually need over holding on to stuff that's valuable to someone else, but not to me anymore. And I'm like, in order to provide value, like I have to be using it, or somebody in my home has to be using it. It doesn't provide value just for you to sit in a closet and for me to look at you, you know? And as I've probably said multiple times in this video, me purchasing you does not mean that we are shackled and tied together for life. It's not going to be like that anymore. Sometimes I make purchasing mistakes. Sometimes we outgrow the purchases that I've made, and it is okay to say that your season of helpfulness is gone. Thank you for what you've done for me, but it is time to release you because on a regular basis, I'm bringing more stuff into this house that I actually need. And if my pantries, cabinets, and counters are full of stuff that I don't need, that just means I don't have any place for the stuff that actually is providing value to me right now. And so that is a mindset that I observed and I really had to talk myself through and work through in order to create space in my home to just make it feel more comfortable for me. Okay. And another point that I wanted to bring is sometimes it feels like it's a waste of money to let go of stuff that you don't need. And I don't know if I heard Flylady say this or someone else, or if it just came to me, but I'm just like, you already wasted the money. Like that money is gone. And so the moment that you swiped your card or paid that cash, that's when you actually lost the money on that item that you're holding on to for dear life. And holding on to that item does not bring that money back. I mean, you can always sell it. That's a way to recoup some of the money. But this whole idea that it's a waste to get rid of stuff that you don't need is something that I've really had to work through. Like I made a mistake. I thought I was going to use it and I didn't. And going forward, I will reevaluate, and really think about the choices and things I spend my money on before I buy it. And I'm not going to penalize myself for making a mistake by letting this item just take up this large amount of space without really providing value to someone in my house. So basically, you have to start reclaiming your space back. If you want that clean, organized, aesthetic home, it really starts by having the space to create that. And clutter and things that you don't need just really have a way of making it very difficult to accomplish that. And so you have to get to a point where you are aware of those thoughts and you are allowing yourself to move past them so that you can attain your ultimate goal, which is to have a clean, organized space that feels good and that feels comfortable to you and your family. The last thing that I feel like was imparted on me as a child that I really had to work through, not so much with Flylady, but just over time, I really had to work through is this whole idea that if something is cheap or on sale, that is my cue to get it. I cannot tell you, especially in my early adult years, how many things I bought just because it was on sale. Like I went to the store and I had no intentions of buying this article of clothing or this appliance or this or that. And I was like, oh, but it's only, a couple of dollars. I'm gonna get it, girl. And I got it. And I felt like I got to a point where at the time it was like my apartment was filled with all of this stuff that I didn't need. And it just felt like irresistible to me because like that's how we did things, when I was growing up. And it kind of leads to the problem that we were already talking about. If you buy stuff just because it's on sale, but you're not really using it, it just allows all of those on sale items to crowd out your space, crowd out your cabinets, crowd out your pantries until like you're struggling with all this stuff on your counters that you want to have that aesthetic looking counter. You want to have like that minimalist vibe, but you can't because your cabinets and your counters and everything is just filled with all this stuff that you bought at a good price, and you have no space for the stuff that you actually want to keep. And so at the end of the day, for me, it has pretty much turned out that most of the time when I buy that stuff, I think that I'm saving money, but I'm actually wasting money because I'm triggered to buy things that I don't really use. Like I may use it for that first week or two, and then like I don't really use it anymore. And so I've gotten to a point where when I go to the store, I typically don't swing by the sale section. I usually try to think about what I need before I go to the store. And then I go and I select the thing that I actually want. And then once I know what it is that I want, then I'll flip it over and look at the price and decide that if it's worth the money that I have to spend on it. And if something just happens to be on sale and I was going to get it anyway, yes, girl. But I do not go out shopping for the purpose of looking for sales anymore because I have to figure out where to put stuff, that I don't really need. And so this is going to sound low-key offensive for some of y'all, but I'm talking to my girl. I'm talking to the person who needs to hear this. Sometimes I truly do get worried when I see people who are frequently bringing home a lot of sale items because based on my experience and my struggle with that, I genuinely wonder, like, where are you keeping all this stuff? Where are you putting it? And like one of two things has to happen in order for that to work out for me is I have to continuously have a rotation of things coming in, and I have to make sure that things are also coming out. And that's a way that I can live that life. But at the same time, to me, I'm like, you have to get rid of a lot of stuff to accommodate bringing a lot of stuff in, or you're just accumulating until it becomes something that's really overwhelming to deal with. And so I think that's a good practice both ways, is to constantly be letting stuff go that doesn't work for you, and also be very mindful of your purchases. Before you purchase something, really think about like, where am I going to store this? Where can it go? Because if you don't think about that, it's very easy to end up in a situation where you feel trapped by all the stuff that you bought and that you're not using. And it just makes it very hard to have a clean, organized, decluttered space when you're not thinking about that. So that's that. I could literally go on and on and on about the things that I've had to deal with emotionally and mentally when it comes to decluttering and creating an organized space for myself. As I mentioned, and as I will mention in every video, my home is not perfectly organized or perfectly decluttered, but it has come a long way since the time I started my Flylady journey. We have progressed a lot, and I feel very happy and comfortable in my home. And if there's anything that I want to change, I feel like I know how to approach it so that it actually gets done and I don't feel overwhelmed and I don't feel like I'm procrastinating on it. And mindset and thinking about why it was so hard for me to let go of things I didn't need has been a huge obstacle that I had to work through in order to make progress. And so sometimes the actual act of getting your space together is not a big deal. It's not a big deal to grab something, toss it in the trash. Just do that, every day. But sometimes little small actions like that can seem overwhelming because of the mental stuff that's going on, the mental game, the stuff that people told us that we should be doing. And in order to accomplish your goal, that means you have to break that. And sometimes if you're not aware of your thought processes and your thought patterns, it can make it very difficult to do those little small, simple actions that you should be doing. And so by creating this video, I hope that I was able to shine a light on some of those thoughts. And like I said, there's more. I could possibly make a part 2 on this if you guys are interested, because there's more. But those are just some of the big ones. And so if you find yourself feeling like I'm just overwhelmed with the craziness, I'm overwhelmed with the mess, I have these cluttered pantries and cabinets and I really want to get started on them and I want to do something about it, but it just feels like too big, something that you can do today that will start making a difference in your home is, girl, come up with trash bag day. Do you hear me? I have trash bag day in my house once a week. It is pretty much something that I learned from Flylady. She calls it a 27 fling boogie. And so first, let me explain what a 27 fling boogie is. A 27 fling boogie is when you literally have a trash bag in your hand, girl, or a donation box, depending what your flavor is, or both, and you go into a space and you find 27 things to get rid of. And you have 15 minutes to do it. And the reason that I find myself enjoying that 27 fling boogie is because you don't have time to think about it. You don't have time to sit there and reflect, like, does this give me joy? I find that for me, I just know in my heart of hearts if this is an item that I should let go. I just know it. There's a gut feeling and I just go with it. I look at it, whatever I feel in my gut, I do it and I move on. Because when you only have 15 minutes to evaluate, you don't have time to talk yourself back into keeping things that you don't need, which is what I used to do before I started this method of decluttering. So anyway, I set my timer for 15 minutes. I find 27 things to get out of my house. And once that 15 minutes is over, I do it immediately. If I have a donation box, I take it to my car and I get it out. And I make plans to go drop it off on my next errand day. If it's trash bag, I run to the trash and I dump it immediately. Because like I said, typically our intuitions are going to lead us to a correct place. Our intuitions will let us know right there. It's like a visceral reaction. I don't need this anymore. And you let it go. You let it go. In the beginning, I thought I was good at decluttering, but doing these 27 fling boogies have made me realize that no, girl, I don't know what process you were using before, but I realized that I had a lot more work to do when it came to evaluating what is providing value to my family right now and what just simply has to go. And now I don't even know how many bags of crap we've gotten rid of in this house. But one thing that I keep telling myself is that if I make a mistake, most of the things that I've gotten rid of are replaceable. Like if I got rid of that spoon and it turns out that I need it 5 years from now, it's fine. I can just go back to the store and pay my little $2-3 to pick it back up. Okay. To me, I have learned to find the value in having space. I've learned to find the value of being free and not feeling like I'm pushed into a corner and pushed out of my home by stuff that I genuinely don't need right now. I just have to reiterate this one more time. It is okay to make purchasing mistakes. Gone are the days of keeping stuff in your house just because you bought it, you spent money on it. Okay, you are not married to these items. You do not have to stick with them forever, especially if they feel like they are suffocating you and choking you and not making you feel free to create the home that you want to create. Let stuff go. Let it go. And once you do that, you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. You will be motivated to get your decluttering projects done. It won't feel so overwhelming. It won't feel like such a big deal, especially if you've been accumulating stuff for a while, like we all do. And so, so I just wanted to leave you guys with this today. I forgot to mention trash bag day. So yeah, trash bag day. So I know I said something about trash bag day and I never went back to explain. So basically, I use that 27 fling boogie whenever I'm starting a decluttering project. That's the first thing that I do is I look for trash. I don't try to organize anything. I don't try to arrange anything. I don't try to buy storage solutions. I get out the trash first because it makes everything else so much easier. But since I've handled most of the decluttering projects that I'm going to handle for right now, especially with my twins, pulling everything out of my drawers, I'm not about to do any major reconstruction of anything right now until they get out of this phase. But what I started doing is on Saturdays, I will literally walk around my house with a trash bag. I will set my timer for 10 minutes and I will look for stuff to throw away. And it's like, sometimes doing that kind of gives you a head start on those decluttering projects. Like sometimes I find that there's like stuff on surfaces that I know we're not going to use anymore. So I fill that bag up. I will open closets, I will add stuff to that bag. I will look through drawers and I'll add stuff to that bag. And so I'll do me a little 27 fling boogie. Sometimes, most of the time, it ends up being more. And I find that that's helped me a lot. I have an office in my room that was kind of getting crazy and I didn't want to do anything about it. And I instituted trash bag day and I accidentally cleaned my office, you guys, because it turned out that half the stuff that was overwhelming my space was stuff I didn't need anymore. So I'm telling y'all, trash bag day be changing lives, okay? So that is a small thing that you can do to start the process of decluttering. Is declare a day, one day of the week, to just carry around that trash bag and look for stuff that you know is not that for that season of your life, and make sure you have 27 items or more. And then, if you want to be like an overachiever, then, and you know that you have a lot of work to do, maybe do it daily. Just walk around your house daily with a trash bag looking for stuff that you don't need anymore, and a donation box too if you need that. So that's really been helpful to me. So yeah, that's my call to action for you guys. I'm gonna probably start doing less lives. I'm just collecting the data and it seems like you guys are not really feeling those very much. So I'm gonna start creating like more polished videos like this one. They're gonna be sit down videos for a while until I have more time after the Corona thing is over. And but if you guys are interested in live videos and interested in chatting with me, I'm gonna start having like I don't know, I'll pick a day and I'll just start having like a hangout session on my Instagram page. So if you're interested in just chatting, talking about, organization and how to create a home that you feel happier and more comfortable in, and my process and how I've been working through that, then definitely come on over to the Instagram page. So thank you guys. And I want to know down in the comments below, what are some things that you were told as a kid or that you overheard that you feel like is impacting your homemaking, possibly in a negative way? I'm curious to know what other things. Like I said, I could probably do a whole part 2 on this, but I want to know from you guys, like, what are some things that you've been told that makes it difficult for you to declutter or makes you feel guilty about doing things that otherwise you know that you should be doing? So, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.